Hello, hello. This is going to be a follow along warm up, and it will be thrilling and amazing. Probably. Or it won't. I don't know. It might be super boring. So, we're going to be really working on just some foundational movements, just kind of getting into your body, getting comfortable, not going to be intense. So, no worries. We're going to be on our backs most of the time. So, if you need anything to make that more comfortable, like maybe a towel to put under your low back, feel free to grab that. We won't need very much equipment. You have the option for using a band or a belt or something because we might need a little bit of help getting to your one of the stretches we're going to do later. And then it might also be helpful to have a block, but you don't need one. If you don't have a block, you can also have like a pillow handy or something like that. And depending on your level of flexibility, you may not need it at all. Water is also recommended because hydration is important. All right, let's go ahead and start laying on our backs. You're going to have your knees bent, kind of feet close to your hips. And you're just going to take a second and settle down here. So you're going to take your hands and put them on either side of your hips. You don't have to do that, but I like to because it helps me to figure out where the heck I am in space and what I'm doing and all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and have the hands on the hips, and we're going to get into what's called a supine, meaning you're laying on your back, cat-cow. And if you've done yoga before, you might know what cat-cow is. If you've never done yoga and you're like, that's silly, what does that mean? Just go ahead and follow along with me. So all you're going to do is you're going to start by thinking about what your hips are doing. You're going to think about tucking your tailbone under you, pressing your low back toward and maybe into the ground. For some people, that might not be comfortable. For other people, it will. Just. And then you're going to go ahead and reverse it. So we're going to go from this tuck to now we're going to go ahead and poke our tailbone back behind us like we're arching our back. Your lower back is going to lift away from the ground. You can keep your hands on your hips. I'm going to put my hands overhead so you can maybe see a little bit better what my hips are doing. The same thing, you're just going to do a little roll, tuck your tailbone under, and arch, poke your tailbone out back behind you. And again, roll and arch. And do this just a few times on your own time. If you're noticing that this is not feeling super comfy, then don't worry about it. Keep the movement really small. Maybe a teeny tiny little tuck and arch is all your body has today, and that's totally fine. If you do notice that you have a decent amount of room and this feels pretty good, that's awesome. If you notice that you are having trouble with this coordination and you're like, how in the heck do I get my hips to move like that? Welcome to the club. It takes practice. Don't worry about it. You'll have an opportunity to practice again, so you'll get there. Don't worry. Good. Go ahead and do a few more here. And then we're going to go ahead and just come out of this and settle however feels good. Maybe keeping those knees bent, maybe not. Next, we're going to move into our next stretch. We're going to go ahead and straighten your legs. And then you're going to take one leg and you're going to hook one ankle right above your kneecap. So on the front of your upper leg here. If you're feeling like things are exceptionally tight, it might be more comfortable for you to have your ankle resting on your shin underneath your kneecap instead. If that's you, that's a-okay. Go ahead and take whatever variation feels the most comfortable to you. And if you're here hanging out with your ankle resting above your kneecap, you don't have too much of a stretch going on anywhere in particular, and you want to keep going, you can go ahead and take this leg that's straightened and you're going to go ahead and bend it. Doesn't have to be a lot, can be a partial bend. And we're just going to see if you have any stretch happening in that, maybe the outside of your hip. Some people will get the front of their hip or their inside leg. We're just looking for a stretch here, a stretching sensation in this leg that's bent on top of the other one. If you notice that you have enough stretch and you want to stay here, go ahead and do that. If you want to add on a little bit more, you can go ahead and take your hand and push your knee away from you, and that can deepen the stretch in the outside of your hip. If you're noticing that your knee is hurting, go ahead and pull your toes toward your kneecap. So flex your foot, and that'll usually help. If this feels good, stay here. If you want to try on a little bit more, you can go ahead and take your knee closer to your chest. So you're kind of gathering yourself up into a little ball a little bit more. If you're feeling like this is kind of a hard reach, or you're having to reach kind of around and it feels kind of uncomfortable, you can take your band or your belt and loop it over the back of your thigh just to give yourself a little bit more room so you can keep your arms a little wider. That is totally reasonable. And we're just going to breathe here. Maybe rocking a little side to side if that feels good, or maybe holding still, flexing your foot to protect your knee. And then let's go ahead and release this side, straighten your legs, and come back down. Now we're just going to go ahead and switch over to the other side. So you're going to take this leg that was just straight is now going to be the one that hooks. Maybe that's on your shin underneath your kneecap. Maybe that's on your thigh just above your knee. Either way, we want to avoid resting our ankle on our knee joint. We want to be either just above or just below. Take a breath here. If you're ready for more and you want to add on, or maybe you want to stay here, but if you want to add on, you can go ahead and bend that knee, maybe pressing into that side of that bent leg, pushing that away from you, maybe flexing your foot if your knee hurts. You might notice as you're doing this that one side feels different than the other. That's really normal. You might need a different variation on one side compared to the other side. And if that's you, just let that be what you do. Because neither is better or worse. You just want to you almost want to treat each side like it's its own thing. And don't worry about having it match perfectly with the type of thing that you're doing. Go ahead and take your knee up if you'd like a little bit more. Because the important part isn't that you're doing the same thing on each side, it's that you're getting a good stretch on each side, and that might look different on your left side versus your right. If you want to take any rocks and fidgets here, you can try that on. And if you're ever noticing that you're trying a variation and maybe it doesn't feel good, you can always drop back into something that feels a little bit more chill. Good. And when you're ready, we're going to come out of this, straighten out your legs, take a second. And next we're going to go ahead and get ready to stretch out our hamstrings. So you may or may not need your band for this. You can take it and have it within grabbing distance. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take one leg and we're going to bend it, kind of bringing our foot close to our butt, like where we started with that cat-cow. Then we're going to take the other leg and we're going to catch behind the thigh. Now this might be where you grab that band and you do that same thing that you did in the pigeon to give yourself a little bit more room in the previous stretch. And if that's you, do it. If you're comfy grabbing behind the thigh or maybe behind the calf, you can go ahead and do that too. Nothing is better or worse, just do whatever works for you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to straighten that leg. And then I myself like to fidget. So you're going to go ahead and bend that leg, soften out of the stretch, and then straighten again. So you're pretty much holding onto your leg, bending, straightening. If this is feeling really, really intense on this leg, you can point your toes. If you want a little more stretch, you can pull your toes toward your face. And then just kind of experimenting here. I know it can be really, really tempting to try and give yourself the most stretch humanly possible and all of that. But sometimes we can actually give ourselves a little bit less of intensity, and then we can actually move in it. And counterintuitively, that actually helps us to end up being more flexible because we're able to move and breathe instead of walking up to our limit and just punching it in the face. If this feels good and right and you want to stay here, go ahead and keep doing that. If you'd like a little bit extra intensity and more stretch sensation, you can take the bent leg and you can straighten it out so it's lying on the ground. Good. Straighten, bend. Let's say one more time. And then we're going to go ahead and swap to the other side. So this leg that we were just stretching is going to come down onto the ground with that foot close to the hip with a bent knee. And then we're going to take it over to the other side. So extending that leg, grabbing behind yourself with that band if you'd like. I think I'm going to do that this time just for funsies. And then we'll straighten bend. Remember to point your toe if it's a little bit intense. And then you can flex your toes and flex your foot if you want it to be a little more intense. Similar to the previous stretch, you might notice a difference on one side versus the other. Again, extremely normal. We're never completely symmetrical. And especially with the hamstrings, and if you'd like to increase the intensity, you can go ahead and straighten this leg. With the hamstrings, you never really want to push them too much. We don't need to yank, we don't need to force, we just need to kind of go right to where that edge is, where we're starting to get a really nice stretch. And then we hang out there. We don't get any benefit from just hammering on something and yanking on it as hard as we can. That is not an effective way to get better, but it is an effective way to injure yourself. So depending on what your priorities are, do what you will. But, I'd prefer it if you didn't injure yourself. Let's do one more straighten and bend. And then we'll come out of that. Toss the band to the side if you need it. And we're going to stay on our back here. This time we're going to gather up our knees. You're free to grab onto your knees or the backs of your thighs if that's comfortable for you. And then we're going to take some hip circles. So you're just going to start on one side, whichever side feels the most comfortable. You're going to pretend like you have a Sharpie on your knee and you're drawing a big circle in the air. You can go ahead and keep this circle kind of small to start with, and then make it bigger as it feels comfortable for you. Not forcing anything, just kind of noticing what feels good and where you're at and letting that be good. And then go ahead and change direction, being mindful that you're not going too fast. Because if you're just rocketing through this as fast as you can, we're not actually going to be able to get into those parts of our hip joint that are feeling tight and maybe need a little extra attention. So especially if you tend to be a little bit more on the ADHD high drive side, just remind yourself to cool it, please. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Again, starting with that smaller circle and then moving into the bigger one as you feel comfortable. And if at any point anything feels kind of painful or just doesn't feel right, just go ahead and skip it. You don't win any prizes from pushing through things and hurting yourself. You can always try again later and sometimes it'll feel better. Go ahead and switch direction. And then sometimes one direction will also feel weird compared to the other. So if that's you, don't worry about it. One more circle. And then we're going to come back to center. You can hug your knees and maybe rock a little from side to side. That can feel nice. And next we're going to go ahead and sit up in whatever way you'd like. Doesn't matter to me. And we're going to do a chest stretch next. Oops. So if you're feeling a little bit tight and you have trouble sitting on the ground without feeling like your back is hurting and your legs fall asleep and all that, go ahead and just grab a block, sit it under your butt, and get yourself feeling more comfortable. You don't win any prizes from suffering more, so please do that if it helps you. Now you're going to take maybe your band. I'm going to show you from the side so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Your band, if you need it, to come back and bring your hands together. Some people might be able to just grab their wrists, maybe their forearms. Other people might benefit from using a band because we're just trying to get a good stretch in your chest across here. So however you get there is fine. Whatever works for you. Once you find that grab where you're connecting your hands, you're going to think about sitting up tall, rolling your shoulders back, and maybe lifting your hands up a little bit if that's comfortable for you. But if you find that you're getting back here is all the chest stretch you need, don't worry about that lift. Because again, we're not trying to achieve any particular shape. A lot of our shapes and warm-ups are really just suggestions because what we're trying to do is get a good stretch and get our body ready for exercising. That doesn't mean we have to do a particular stretch in order to do that. Now this one can be pretty intense, so let's kind of roll out of that, release it just for a sec. We'll roll back in and come out and just do that a few times. So find more of a stretch, find less of a stretch, find more of a stretch, find less of a stretch. And then when you've had enough of that, we're going to go ahead and release it. Last thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take it back down to the floor, rolling yourself down. Keep your chin tucked into your chest. And next we're going to do some glute squeezes. So for this one, your legs can be bent or straight. It doesn't matter. Most people will notice more activation with their legs straight out long. But some people will notice that makes their back hurt. So if you notice that even just lying here with your legs out, if that makes your back hurt, or if when we start doing the squeezes, your back starts to hurt, just bend your knees a little bit. That's totally fine. So wherever you want to start with, we're going to go ahead and just do exactly what the name glute squeezes implies. We're going to squeeze our butt, we're going to hold, and then we're going to release. And then you're going to squeeze, you're going to hold, and release. And just kind of keep doing that on your own time. Some people might notice that the coordination of this is actually really, really challenging. And other people might notice that when you do this squeeze, it actually can kind of make your back hurt a little bit as well. So if that's you, do like half of the squeeze than you were doing before for a few times, and then see if that helps. Then take your hands to your hips as you do this, if that's comfortable for you. And then you might notice that when you squeeze, your pelvis kind of naturally changes position. So it naturally rocks under you and tucks under you a little bit, like when we were doing those cat-cows earlier. This is helpful for later, so I don't need you to do anything with this right now. Just kind of pay attention to it. And then if you're feeling like this isn't hard enough, you can try squeezing a little harder. And if you're like, girl, this is plenty, then keep it right where you are. And then feel free to stop if at any point you're like, I'm tired and other things are starting to work and I can't get to feel it where I want to. Then don't sweat it, just be done. Let's do 4 more. And last one. Very nice. Go ahead and release. Flop yourself out of that however you wish. And congratulations, you have survived a warm-up. It was chill, hopefully. If you have any questions about anything, obviously let me know. Please let me know. And I feel like I had something else I was going to say, but I can't remember what it is. So we're going to assume it wasn't important, and I will talk to you soon.